Welcome to the What's Lacking podcast. It's your host, Larry Atencia. With me today is Naomi Rinear. How do we know each other, Naomi?
You are the brother of my friend Jordy Atencia.
How long have we known each other? It's been a while. I don't think we've ever
Yeah.
explicitly
Let's see,
dated.
couple years at least. I think three, maybe. I know I've known Jordy longer,
Yeah.
but I think we met each other about a year into me and Jordy knowing each other. So
Okay.
yeah, probably around three.
And what do you do for a living, Naomi?
Well, I work at Bancroft in the intense unit, which is where kids with autism, but also like behavioral issues and learning disabilities, it's like an inpatient place for them because their parents can't take care of them to like the best of their ability. So they have really intense behavioral issues, and we work on helping those kids, teaching them daily living things like washing their bodies, everything that a normal person, or not normal, but a person without learning disabilities or autisms or anything like that would be able to do without assistance. Try to teach them how to do those things and help them along the way. Um, and we also implement behavioral plans of sorts. So applied behavioral analysis is what they're called. It helps us try to combat like all of those behavioral issues and try to lower the intensity of them so that they can go to a different place when they're older, or ideally back home so that their parents are able to take care of them. But yeah, they experience a lot of aggression, a lot of self-injurious behavior and stuff like that. So we're always there to make sure everybody is safe as well as themselves.
Yeah, that sounds like you're doing providing a great service and helping those that really need the help. How long have you been there?
Just about a year. Yeah, I'm actually furthering my education right now. So I applied for a master's program with them, and so I'm going to go for applied behavioral analysis and become a behavioral analysis eventually with my master's, and then probably work there for a while.
Okay, yeah. Sounds like you are comfortable and you like it. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, yeah. I felt like because when I got there, it's honestly really crazy. Like the kids, not kids, they range from about 14 to 21.
Okay.
Are super aggressive and have a lot of behavioral issues that like you would not ever see unless you were there. They always say there's no other place like where I'm working because we take all of the intense cases. So like usually we try to work through those problems without like medicine, I
Yeah.
guess you would say. A lot of the kids do take medicine every day. Some of them are like schizophrenic and stuff like that, so use medicine for those things. But um, we try to use plans instead of drugging the kids up, is how a lot of
Yeah.
kids or a lot of staff say. I felt very comfortable going into it, and I didn't have any problems when I was there. So I was like, if I'm somebody who can do this and I feel
Mhm.
comfortable and capable enough to do it, why would I not? So,
Yeah.
and I also very much enjoy psychology, and that applies a lot of psychology into my work. So,
Right. So, I think you majored in psychology at Temple University, which is my alma mater. It seems like you were able to find a job where you're able to use your knowledge and the passion that you obviously had for psychology. So, that's great to see. Are you married with children?
only 23, I'm not married, I don't have children, and I don't plan on having children for a while.
Okay, yeah. So, but the you're open to the idea of marriage and children eventually.
Yes.
Um, okay, yeah, but just
Yeah,
not.
hopefully after I get done schooling and I'm comfortable with myself and like what I'm doing, that's when I probably would think about getting married. But
Yeah, right now it's not a approximate pressing need in your life.
mm,
Sounds yeah, sounds good. I mean,
yes,
I agree with that. When I was 23, I was also on the same boat. Like that just seems like such a far away into the future event
hmm.
or events. What was your relationship like growing up with your parents?
I wouldn't say it was a great relationship. When prior to high school, I didn't really have a relationship with them. I kind of just took care of myself. fed myself whatever I had in the house, and I was very by myself, like did everything myself, took care of myself, learned whatever I needed to off of my brothers and sisters. I watched everyone. I have a huge family. So it was really easy to like learn what not to do based off of them. I mean, I have my sister Evelyn. She, of course, helped me with anything and everything I needed. She had children at a young age, so she kind of took that role on with me. I'm only 10 years younger than her. Not only, but I'm 10 years younger than her, which is a lot. But she stepped into that role when I was younger. Yeah, around my sophomore year of high school, my dad got injured at work, and so he really like took a big step into my life, and we grew an amazing relationship. He taught me a lot. We have a great relationship, better than a lot of people have with their dads. So I'm glad that that was able to happen. But me and my mom, she's there. But
You guys
uh,
have a fractured relationship, or is just
yeah,
not very strong?
it's not very strong at all. I love my mom and what she did for me. She had a lot of struggles, like with my brothers and sisters, and I took on the role of not being one of them for her. I'm not a problem child by any means. I did what I needed to do to stay out of the spotlight, and I think that's like what she needed at the time. I was too young to like be able to understand really what she did, but now I understand. Like I have a lot of siblings with mental illness, and mental health issues, and she took on that role and helped them as much as she could, but at the expense of a lot of her other children. So I don't really like. I'm not mad about it. I just don't have a good relationship with my mom, but I do love her.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, I did spend. That's why I did
Yeah,
spend
we're
the morning with
we're
her.
recording this during May 2023's Mother's Day. So how many siblings do you have?
I have 7 siblings, 4
So,
brothers, 3 sisters. Yeah, and they're
and
all I'm the baby, so they're all
oh, you're the
teenagers.
youngest. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily that you weren't living with your parents. It was that there was just so much going on in your household, in your home,
Mhm.
and they were probably just giving so much attention to the older children that you learn how to be
Yeah.
independent and not bother them. So it seems also that it was like a conscious decision to
Mhm.
be in the background and not be as needy as what you probably saw your other siblings being. Yeah.
I
Okay.
was very, to myself, the only reason that I would bother them is if I needed money for, like, science projects and stuff, and they always gave you the money for it. But, you know, or we would drive to the Dollar Tree, and we would go get that poster board, and I would do it.
It sounds like you were a responsible young lady, and like they were also doing what they needed to do in terms of supporting you in your academic endeavors. Because yeah, I mean, some parents might have not even done that. So you do seem to have a stronger. I mean, you do have a stronger relationship or a closer connection to your dad, and you said that was the result of him just being around more. Was your mom also working at this time? And
Yeah,
you know,
so both my parents did work. Like they're full-time workers, basically like 9 to 5 regular jobs. However, like my mom did have her own social life, so a lot of the time that she would have free, she wouldn't necessarily spend like with the family. Whereas like my parents are separated, I should say.
okay.
That's an important fact. Yeah, they're separated from like when I was 3, so I never really knew what it was like. My siblings, however, obviously did. I would have my dad every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and have my mom every other day. So, and we would always come back to my mom's house. So it was like spend the morning and afternoon and night with my dad, and then we would come back and sleep in my mom's house until I got a lot older, and then I would sleep over my dad's house. But then that was during the time also that he, around my sophomore year in high school, he got injured at work, like tore the rotator cuffs in his shoulders, so he wasn't able to work. So he took like, basically like an early retirement type of thing, where he got workers comp. So he was much more available during that time, and I was one of the only kids still in school, and I was really devoted to sports. They kept me going. I was really into it, and he loved sports too, and we connected a lot on that too, and would show up to every single game after he was injured, and just supported me a lot. with
Yeah.
that stuff. He'd be like, "Do you need cleats? I'll get you cleats. Do you need a new lacrosse stick? I'll get you a new lacrosse stick." And it was great. We bonded a lot during that, and it was also during the time that my siblings stopped coming over to his house, like because it was their choice at that time. Obviously, we grew so much more with nobody else around because it was only us two talked to each other. So like our relationship just really flourished. But
Mhm.
my mom was, back and forth between hanging out with friends or having a new boyfriend and dealing with my other siblings. So,
That's a good transition because you brought up the fact that during your sophomore year you had been into sports. So, can you tell me a little bit more about your experience in the educational system?
oh yeah, I would say I had a great experience with it. I mean, I went to all Philadelphia public schools, so I'm really such a big advocate with Philly public schools. I think I learned so much that I would never have learned at home, being from a Christian household and very not orthodox, but straight, narrow Christian people. To going to a multicultural school that also has amazing teachers or was blessed with amazing teachers and a lot of amazing people. I learned a lot about different cultures that a lot of other people don't get to learn about going to, Catholic schools or charter schools and stuff like that. I don't know. I think I would not be who I am if I didn't go to public schools. I also went to a public high school, obviously, that had thousands of kids. My graduating class was probably around 1,000 students. And yeah, and we would have multicultural days and we would have assemblies about it. And I would meet so many people and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, you're Christian." I'm like, "Yeah, but hey, we can be friends. I love I love learning about everything." And yeah, I was just always taught to like love everybody and I was always interested in learning about the things that drive people and I guess their morals and like what they believe in and how they learned about it. And the public school, I don't know, it taught me so much that like my parents would have never taught me,
Yeah.
like, and they taught me so much. And I was like, oh, all I need to know is like, like English, math, sciences, and stuff like that. But it taught me a lot about like being a person and being accepting of a lot of people, just being surrounded by everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I really appreciate Philly public schools.
What sport did you play?
Oh, I played field hockey and lacrosse from sixth grade up until 12th. So I was gonna say my whole family, like when I was younger, was really into playing field hockey and well, my sister field hockey, but my whole family played lacrosse. Basically, we were all a bunch of sports people. So I learned a lot about it before I even started in school. So yeah, I was really into it.
Did you continue playing in college? Or that was just something that you did during high school?
So I wanted to really I did get recruited for a couple colleges, but I really wanted to go to Temple because I felt like it was close to home and I had no intentions of leaving home. And also I think it would give the same environment that I had growing up, like with all of the different cultures and stuff like that. I really wanted that to like transfer over. So, and that's just what I was comfortable with. I was comfortable being around a bunch of different people. And, I grew up in North and Northeast Philly, so it didn't bother me to like be around that area, which is a big concern for a lot of people that go to Temple. Yeah, I did try to do sports while I was in college. I started with field hockey because field hockey is like during the fall, and then lacrosse is, later, I guess in the beginning of the year during the spring and summer. But I didn't really enjoy the people that
Yeah.
were doing it. Like all of the girls just seemed very uppity to what I could tell, and it was very clicky, which I was not used to at all. Like I was used to just being able to like go show my skills, be able to like play and stuff like that. But obviously it was tryouts. I did the tryouts, but I didn't want to continue really. I went to a couple of them and didn't really want to because I didn't like the girls that were there. And I was like, if I don't like them now, if they're not nice to me now, like I can't even imagine how they're going to be like later on. And that was something that was really big like in my life, playing sports. I met a lot of my friends doing that stuff. So um it really drove me to do school well too. So, but if I didn't find a passion, or if they broke my passion by not being the best people, then I just didn't want to do it at all. So I didn't do it.
It's I wanted to bring go back a little bit to a statement you made about feeling comfortable going to Temple just because it is in it's a campus that's in the middle of a high crime area in North Philadelphia. And just last year there had been a few instances of, not even last year, but the last couple of years, there have been some incidents and some instances of violence towards Temple University students. The crime rate in Philadelphia in general has also been um, pretty high post pandemic, and all of that accumulated to eventually lead to the resignation or firing, I'm not sure, of the Temple president, just because, you know, people were saying that he hadn't been around campus, he hadn't, handled it well. Having said all of that, what was your experience like at Temple, and did you feel a sense of insecurity? You obviously just graduated 2 years ago or a year ago, 1 year
20.
ago. So yeah, so you were there during the regime of the president who just resigned. So tell me how you felt there, security wise, and more general, what your experience was like at Temple.
Okay. Honestly, like I really enjoyed my time there. When I first got there, obviously a lot of my friends were friends from high school and conjoining high schools, all around Philly, a lot of public high schools, because we all kind of just found each other and would hang out in the student center a lot together. So my first 2 years there was a lot of that. I felt very comfortable staying there. My experience is that it was a place for me that I could go to get out of my house and do my homework and study and do whatever I needed there. And they have like a lot of resources. They have the libraries that stay, or library, the new one that stayed open late, like super late, 24 hours. Um, they have other places that stayed available until around 10 p.m. They have the outdoor areas. I never felt like I couldn't be outside or even at night. I always stayed there until it got chilly, and then I would walk over to the library and stay there. Yeah, I don't know. I never felt uncomfortable even when I moved out and I needed to go somewhere other than my apartment to study. I would walk there.
Hmm.
And so it really like, and I lived on 8th and Norris when I moved out, and right past Susquehanna, so like past Diamond, so like at like 12th and Susquehanna, which was amazing. But past Diamond, and I never felt uncomfortable. The area that I lived in, I was very particular about where I wanted to live on the side of Broad that all of the classes are on, like all of the buildings are on. That's where I wanted to live. And I always lived in like neighborhoods where I would be very open to like talking to the people that live there. Like that is their home. That's not just like
Right.
where Temple students go. Like they live there all year round, and they have been for like generations, type of thing. And we would have cookouts out front, and we would just talk with them and stuff like that. And they would talk to me, and they'd be like, I like, you don't ever have to feel uncomfortable. We always got you. We're always up late, and we're always here. So whatever you need, just let us know. And it's always been like that, no matter if it was 8th and Norris, past Diamond, 6th and Norris, which is where I'm around now. It has always been a great experience for me whenever I lived around here. Um, and yeah, just walking to, like, I literally, it was 10 o'clock at night, and I walked over to CVS, which is on campus now.
Hmm.
So 6, 7 blocks away, and down. It like I just never feel uncomfortable here, and I think it's just I am a very, I don't know, I might be a very a trusting person, but I never ever felt that I couldn't walk around and be safe. There also, like when I was leaving the library very late, like I don't know, 4 a.m., something like that. they have escorts that will walk you to your wherever on campus, off campus, wherever, and there'll be like a police officer that will like walk with you or like ride their bike with you, or like they have the little golf carts that drive around. They'll take you on those too, and I don't know. I just never had a bad experience here. I honestly have felt more comfortable living down here than living in Frankfurt. Like those concerns that a lot of people have, I never felt those things.
I think there's a lot, and ever since I graduated in 2008, and it's always been pretty rough area, but there's always been mechanisms for protection, and the Temple Police Department is like the second biggest in Philadelphia after the city police. So there's always a large presence, lights, escorts. I
Hmm.
mean, they've always tried to implement systems to keep students safe, and I think there are sometimes instances of violence towards students that get sort of amplified, and
Hmm.
there's a narrative around it as if it was a common occurrence, when in reality it's something that happens not often. It's every few years, and we live in a, a major American city, so regardless of where you are, there's going to be crimes committed against people. Yeah, I think it's overblown, but again, you're also a person that grew up in Philadelphia. You went to public schools. You're street smart basically, and so
Hmm.
there might be a difference in the way in which you carry yourself, or you're able to navigate Philadelphia and rougher neighborhoods that other people who aren't from urban areas might not be able to. And so, but it was just an interesting thing that I wanted to bring up to you, just because I know that it's been a pretty prevalent narrative around Temple. Because I think the incident that I'm talking about, and it's only one that I could think of,
Hmm.
was a student maybe 3 4 years ago who I think got robbed and shot. And then the second incident, which pretty big news in Philadelphia, was a cop being shot and killed, but this was from a person from the suburbs coming into
Hmm.
Philadelphia, trying to steal cars. So it wasn't even a student. But I think it just added to the idea that it was just a campus surrounded by violence in general, and something that parents wouldn't want their children to be exposed to, or to be around. Now, in terms of your political views, do you care to tell us a little bit more about that?
I mean, my political views come and stem like a lot from my religious background. It's just who I am, it's who I grew up with. I would like to say that I am a very accepting person, though. I think I'm what I like to call a progressive Christian person. I think my biggest thing that I grew up with and like that I've learned is like to love everybody, like no matter what, no matter if like I don't agree with like what you're doing or whatever it is, like do whatever you want to do that will make you happy as long as you're not making other people unhappy, like as in like trying to kill somebody because it makes you happy, you know what I mean? Like that's probably not the best idea. But
I I I,
um
I agree with that. I
yeah.
easily agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh, it, like do what you want to do. I have no right to judge anybody or tell them that they're doing something wrong because of what I believe in. I'm always here if you want to like learn about what I believe in. I would love to learn about what other people believe in. I think just politically, like a lot of the times like that I've thought about political things, it's because other people will bring up the political conversations. I'm not necessarily a political person. It's not like the number one thing that I love to talk about. But yeah, I don't really have a lot of I'm not really like well versed in it. I didn't have a family that taught me a lot about politics. The most I know about politics is honestly what when I started or I like got to know Jordy. He taught me so much. But yeah, like I didn't have any conversations about that stuff until I met him, and like he's helped me so much with growing. too, because obviously Christian is like loaded with a whole bunch of ideas and beliefs that not like I not necessarily believe in, or don't believe in, but I did at one point, and I've grown a lot through that stuff, and he's helped me grow a lot through that. Um, and just like actually be able to think for myself and what I really like believe in. And
Yes, I enjoyed and truly believe what you stated about thinking for yourself. I think it's important to um, always try to have independence in one's positions, in one's views, and obviously, we're not existing as individuals in a vacuum. So Christianity, Islam, religion, other, nationalism, ideological beliefs, socialism, feminism, etc. There are ways in which there's plenty of intellectual context in which one could develop one's ideas. But I think at your age, my age, and just as adults, we need to be able to step back and sort of incorporate what we've learned and all the good teachings and lessons of all the things that I, previously mentioned, while also developing a individual way of thinking that takes the best of all those things and leaves behind the very worst. I think it's hard sometimes, especially the younger we are, to go against the grain of things that we have been inculcated inside of. But that's part of growing up and maturing. It's great to hear that you've also come to that realization. Are you doing anything toward self improvement?
yes, actually, you caught me in a great time
Oh,
because because yeah, like I definitely have devoted like this time in my life, like literally right now, like the past couple months, I've decided that like I want to become, like the standard adult. I want to be able to support myself through all things. I don't want to, it's hard to explain, but having all of my bills paid by me. Like currently my dad still pays my phone bill. Um, like having insurance, doing that stuff because
yeah.
obviously I don't even know the first thing about getting insurance. But yeah, I just really want to like
You should
really
be you
start
should
my
be
life.
getting it through your employer. I mean, so
Yes, yes. Okay. Open enrollment starts tomorrow. So
right. Yeah. Don't miss that.
I know. So we're really getting there quick. But yeah, I just really wanted to like, just be able to like live my life without any worries of like what's the next step in adulthood that I need to worry about right now. I just want to get it all done at, like within the next, it's being unrealistic, but
Yeah.
maybe year or two, and just be settled enough so that when I'm, in school again and I have all of that stuff just off my back, all I have to worry about is school. And school will be paid for because my work pays for my school. So I don't have to worry about that. And everything else is on, what is it called? When it automatically comes out of your bank account. I
Auto
set
pay.
that up. So that's cool. I don't have to worry about not having enough funds in my bank account currently for that stuff. I feel like more comfortable with myself for the first time in a while because I'm making enough money to like be able to, do what I want to do, but also like be an adult about it and like, no, hey, I can't spend that money because I need that for rent or for heating or gas or whatever it is. Like I obviously have lived on my own before and I never really had to worry about it, but I was also like working full time and in school full time and really like burning myself out. So right now I just feel very comfortable with like where I'm at. But I also just want to get into that bettering myself and my mental health thing. I want to start seeing a therapist and really just being fully able to like handle myself. Um, and I have like a really bad habit in just because I like to get into like relationships and stuff, like because I love somebody, I should be in a relationship with them. But that's not necessarily true when you really have a lot to work on for yourself. And I really believe that you should be able to take time and work on yourself if you can't worry about somebody else at the moment. So that's where I'm at. And I'm very comfortable with that decision. And yeah, I have a lot of self improvement going on right now. um, but we're getting there. Yeah.
The sooner you start, the better you'll be when you reach my age. And I think it's commendable that you're starting in your early 20s, because yeah, it's most of us don't have that perspective and that sense of urgency that you seem to be showing, and it affects how your later years can unfold. So it's a great decision that you're making, and I'm sure you'll do well to develop and improve yourself. You had also obviously mentioned that being a Christian is really important to you. Can you elaborate a bit more of just the importance of Christianity in your own life?
Well, I think it like created just a basis for like me as a person. It really like created me to being like the trusting and moral person that I am. It really it allows me to like I think from being like a believer in God, from a young age and knowing that like that's who I am and what I want to be like because I did like have a choice to do that stuff. I made all of the decisions myself. My dad really guided me, but I obviously have seen like my brothers and sisters choose other paths, and that's like good for them if they need to do that. And but I've tried to stick through it, not because I felt like I needed to, but because I had a big community that was always there for me no matter what. I had like, and it's not to say that I love every Christian because some of those people are weird, but um I had some amazing teachers when not teachers, but pastors that really like felt like my friend. I could go to them for anything. They gave me some of the best advice, and I'm still in contact with them, even though they're not necessarily at the church that I go to. They're like my second parents. Like they've always been there, and they give me a lot of good advice. And it's not like, "Hey, God wants you to do this, so you should do it," and then they quote a Bible verse type of advice.
Mhm.
It's like they're like my friends, and they give me advice based on how I need it and how I can take it. Not everybody listens to people who are like, yeah, God wants you to do it, so you should do it that way. You can't always just feed people like that. You know what I mean? And I've just had a great experience with it with a lot of loving people who were very accepting of everybody. And I was blessed to go to a church that was like that. Yeah, it just allowed me to be very trusting of people, which honestly is also like a very big downfall of me. I have been burnt so many times, but for some reason, I'm still so trusting of everybody. And I think it's a good quality, but obviously it kind of sucks sometimes. But
Better to be trusting than become cynical and just jaded and just angry at
Mhm.
people in the world. I mean, one needs to sort of understand that you need to protect yourself against the very worst of what people can potentially do. But I think it's mentally, spiritually, and socially more nourishing and just better to initially always give people the chance to prove themselves,
Mhm.
be the best version of themselves. Because if one goes in with a cynical stance from the very beginning, it's not the best way
Yeah.
to as a person develop and to be comfortable and emotionally in a magnanimous state. It's just not really optimal to be living that way. I think it probably just leads to a stressful life, which leads to a shorter life and lessens your quality of life, which ultimately, getting burned is something that you can move on if you have a positive attitude fairly quickly. And the cynicism is not something that one could move on from in terms of the effects that it could have on you emotionally and spiritually and health wise.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, sometimes it's like it really like takes a toll on you. I try to be like kind and trustworthy of a lot of people, but as I said, I'm working on that mental health because sometimes it really gets to you when people aren't the same way with you. I've always just been, I guess, a kind person. People have described me like that. I don't really see it like that though,
Yeah.
but I guess other people see it. I try to be happy. Is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. But yeah, I don't know. I just always had someone to go to, and I've always been able to like push a lot of stress off of myself and like place it onto God because that's just something that I've always done. It's like you pray and it's like a stress taken off of you, even though you know it's still there and
Yeah.
still like always on you. Like you know that someone else is always there with you. And yeah, I can't really say more. I have had just an amazing relationship with God, and even though like I've had like a lot of hard stuff happen with me and with my family and with my siblings have, and like watching all of that stuff, it's I've just always been very I guess positive
Yeah.
person, and I've I guess been that person for my family too. So it pays off, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's my viewpoint on religion.
Yeah. I've always been a major pessimist and cynic. I think when I was very, very young, I wasn't necessarily that way, but just just growing up in Queens and being sort of burned, like you said, by my naivete and just being innocent. I think as I grew up, I just became so hardened and cynical and a pessimist of just human nature.
Hmm.
But I've recently have been working on trying to let go of that personality trait that I had developed and that I thought was necessary to just protect myself, and trying to find a balance and become just more positive, more of an optimist, and more understanding of how things operate outside of just maybe people intentionally doing things against you, and just understanding that sometimes it's just the way in which cost benefits apply so that people make certain decisions based on what's best for them, and you understanding that it's something not personal can make a difference in how you can become less beholden to just the jadedness that could develop. Any big regrets so far in your life? I know you're young, but
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. Because like I think my biggest regret, I definitely have people that I haven't forgiven in life, like because I've been so trusting of them like multiple times and have tried to be in their life multiple times, and they've just burned me over and over and over again. I guess it was naive of me at some points to just even think that they were a trustworthy person. But I kind of regret, and I do sometimes regret like just not forgiving them, like because I've decided recently to just not anymore. They can obviously reach out to me if they need to, but I'm not going to try so hard as I did before. And I am the same way with my mom. Like, I don't really have anything held against her, but I'm not going to continue to reach out to somebody that doesn't really reach out to me either, especially if it's like your mother. But uh, yeah, and I just have a lot of regrets with forgiving people. I think I sometimes go about things the wrong way. I need to work on that. And also, I think just schooling, because I was a bio pre med major my first 2 years at college, and I transferred to psychology where like I fell in love with psych. I always knew that I really enjoyed it because I took a lot of classes in high school of psychology, took some AP courses for it too. So I knew I was going to do good in it. It's just not really what I want to do like with my life. I really, really, really always wanted to be a trauma surgeon. I wanted to work with trauma. from like when I was so young, and it just stayed with me, and that's how I knew like that's what I want to do, and I still do to this day. I want to be a trauma surgeon. I just feel like for me personally, I need to be completely financially stable. I need to be able to be comfortable in my life first, and like have, like I said, those adult things like going to a therapist, because like I have a lot of stuff that I need to unpack, and you know, being able to pay for all of my own things and not worry about it being like a burden. I don't think I am, but a burden to anybody else. I really want to do all of that before I decide to go back to school, and I want to be able to pay for school without struggling. So that's why I'm going for my master's with psychology. I really want to see if this works out. I'm the type of person that's just scared of being bored with their job.
Mm.
And I don't think I'll ever be bored with what I'm doing right now. But I think that overarching, really wanting to do what I always wanted to do will soon just really push me to go back to school. And I don't think I was mature enough when I was going. Even though like I wasn't immature, I've always been pretty mature for my age. I just don't think that I was mentally capable of going to school and working full time 40 plus hours a week at that age, and killing myself over schoolwork and working and my family problems and all of that stuff, to be able to actually do it and do it right.
Mhm.
So I think that I need to do this first and then go back if I ever think that I really, really want to, which I don't think that will ever go away. But yeah, I think my biggest regret was just not using the resources that I had when I was younger. Like staying at home was a resource that I had, but I couldn't do it because my family was just a lot for me at that time, and it just really started to eat me away. I just wish that I stayed with bio, even though I wasn't having a good time with it, because I think that would have like been past it already. But yeah, I guess those are my big regrets.
It's interesting just because it's hard to dedicate oneself to one thing and do it like you said right, and feel as if one did fail, it was because one didn't have the capacity or capabilities. But to work full time and go to school full time, it's going to be impossible for you to give everything that you could give. And so I think I want to support you in doing things and giving your all and finding out exactly whether or not that's the your path, not because of external obstacles. There's always going to be obstacles, but external
Mhm.
obstacles that literally could prevent you from actually doing it in a way that is going to allow you to actually see whether or not it was something that was the right thing for you to pursue. And the last question, the what's like in question, what's your favorite movie, album, and book of all time?
I just have to start it off with the book because I am not a reader. I don't read. I barely read when I was in college. Um,
So
so this,
I thought the barely reading in college part was because you were working.
um, I don't know about that, but
I
I
take
just
back all of that advice I had pre.
I just am not a reader.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard
You're
for
not the first person to say that. I think every person has said that. No, Jordy is a reader. I think he was the only person in the podcast who's been excited about answering the question about favorite books.
Yeah.
Maybe Miguel, Paula's brother too. But
Mhm.
other than that, every other single person has been like, I don't read. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I have read a lot of like romance. I am a die-hard hopeless romantic, which, as I said before, has been such a downfall for me. I'm always like, oh, if I'm in love with a person, why can't I be with them? But it's probably because of that.
Because they have free will too.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just like I don't like it was such a long, like it was in high school when I was reading a bunch of romance books. So like I don't really remember any of them. And I didn't have hard copies. I got all of them off of PDFs, like off the internet.
That's me.
So,
That's literally what I like. Any
yeah.
book that I want to read, I Google the
Mhm.
title, plus PDF. and then I download it. If they don't have it, and trust me, I have many ways of finding if it exists. Then I try to buy it.
Yeah. So like yeah, that's just what I would do, but I don't really remember any of the titles, and I tried to like look because sometimes I would download them onto like iBooks onto my phone,
Yeah.
but I don't have any of them. So
You, just-
unfortunately.
you like the romance genre. Let's go with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Have you ever read Romeo and Juliet?
See, not that.
So
I did read Romeo and Juliet in high school, and then we watched the Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
yeah, you didn't like
No, it was
it
not.
as a hopeless romantic who likes romance novels. So
I was I'm more of an enemies to lovers type of person.
okay, so you're saying that these talentless, well, I don't want to say that because I'm not a writer, but these people who don't compare to William Shakespeare are more entertaining and offer more than he does. I mean, like
I mean,
I love Romeo and Juliet. Like that was one of the first books in high school that I actually read that were assigned because I have issues against authority. So I just if someone told me to read something in class, I was like, I'm not gonna do it. But I did read Romeo and Juliet. That was a great book. Love that book.
I do have to say that like when I was younger, prior to okay, so in high school, I took an AP course called Language and Composition. And when I took that course, I learned so much about reading and writing that it helped me so much. Like that I like actually understand a lot more than what I did prior. When I read Romeo and Juliet, I was a sophomore in high school. So I didn't really pay attention to it. I just kind of like coasted through
Yeah.
that book. So therefore, I probably should reread it. It probably would be good because I have a lot more like, understanding of all of the things that have to do with writing, um, because of my language and composition course.
There's a reason why William Shakespeare is considered
Mhm.
one of the greatest writers ever. Let's I'll just say that. Like, yeah, he's good.
I did- There was a book that I read in middle school called Kite Runner that I was debating on saying today because it had a really big impact on me, and I remember reading that book and like crying, like when I was in eighth grade. And then there was the second book that came out of, I don't even know of those books. And I had to read it for my summer reading going into high school. And oh my gosh, that the Kite Runner was a really amazing book too for reading it in eighth grade. I don't even remember who it was by. I just remember that it was called Kite
I,
Runner.
I remember that book. That was a pretty popular book in that era.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so romance novels genre, your favorite. What
Mm-hmm.
about movie and album?
So movie, I'm sorry, I have to pick two
Yeah,
because um,
it's your world.
I love Pride and Prejudice so much. I could rewatch that movie.
Do you know that that's based on a book?
I downloaded the book and I was gonna read it.
Oh man.
But I started it, but then I realized how big the book is. And I just don't
You're,
have time.
yeah, you're like efficiency. I'd rather how long is the movie? I've never seen the movie.
I don't know.
3 hours.
It
And are you
just
talking about
feels
the new Pride and Prejudice or
mm,
the older one?
the
The,
older one. With
okay.
the guy from Six. Have you watched Succession?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind. But yeah, the older one.
Right. Yes. Pride and Prejudice is your favorite. I wanted to say something before. I do want to say it. I was reading an article and they had a statistic which, based on our conversation, makes sense, which is that 5% of readers in America read 95% of the books. So that makes
Mhm.
sense based on admittedly small sample size of the podcast and the participants that is true. Uh,
It's true. Yeah.
so that
I did read like a lot of really long articles during psych that were super like cool to read
yep.
about like, population because I did take a psych course off of like race, power, and privilege in psychology.
Mhm.
And the like we had to do like our end of year was to pick like an 8+ page article and do a PowerPoint on it and write about it. And every student in the class had to do it. So we all had to read those articles, and every week we also had to read articles for that class. So I read a whole freaking lot about that,
Hmm.
which were amazing that I don't have access to anymore.
Yeah.
So
JSTOR. I love articles too. There's
yeah,
plenty. Just like you could download books, PDFs,
yeah,
articles too. And so then you said you had
two
two
movies.
movies, so Pride and Prejudice and
The Greatest Showman. It's a Disney movie, a
okay.
musical actually,
Oh yeah,
about the
yeah, yeah.
Bonham brothers, and for forever, I loved that movie just because it is a beautiful movie.
Mhm.
Like, it is so inspiring, and, the music is beautiful, like, it's just so nice to listen to the music. My Christian dad, who doesn't listen to anything other than Christian music, loves the playlist of The Greatest Showman, if that says anything. But yeah, I will play that in my car on repeat, like the album of Greatest Showman. It is just a beautiful movie, and yeah, I love watching it, and I make Jordy watch it all the time.
It had really good reviews when it came out. Um, I'm not a big musical fan, so
I
yeah.
I don't really enjoy musicals, but I loved, and I also have looked up the songs online, like, because Hugh Jackman, right? He's an amazing singer and actor, like
Yeah.
Wolverine, and he has an amazing voice. And there's this one video of him singing one of the like most popular songs on that in the movie, and he's crying while he sings it because it's such a beautiful movie with beautiful words in the songs. So I'm not a musical person either, but I love that movie and all of the music that is involved with it. I
Pa-
mean,
pa-
I am a musical person. I did play violin for like 8 years, but
oh wow, it's
I
impressive.
almost went to high school for violin.
Yeah. I tried watching, I think, In the Heights
Mm,
with Paula, because you know how some musicals they have dialogue and then they get into the songs,
mm-hmm,
and there's other musicals where the whole movie, the dialogue is sung. So
mm-hmm.
I expected In the Heights to be the type where there's dialogue and then songs. So then, like the first 15 minutes, they were just singing, and then I looked at Paul and I'm like, wait, they gonna do this the whole movie, bro? Like, what? So yeah, so I we had to stop that movie.
Did you watch Hamilton?
No,
You won't watch Hamilton.
it's a musical. Like I don't. And then
I know, but it's also great too.
I have some issues with Lin Manuel Miranda.
Mm.
But yeah. Anyways, how about album?
Okay, album. See, I'm not a big album person, and prior to my senior year of high school, I only listened to Christian music.
You said
Yeah.
senior year of high school.
Yes.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah. Like I only listen to Christian music, and I still only really listen to Christian music in my car, but like my little Christian radio stations. But
Okay.
uh I mean sometimes I veer off and I plug in my phone and listen to Spotify. But I don't know. Right now, like I can't think really of all time because nothing really has been so like that I've listened to, I guess. I guess I'm not really listening to the best music ever, but has
That's what I was
impact
about to say. I'm like, you haven't had any mind blowing albums because
I
you have
haven't.
a pretty limited selection of.
Exactly. So it was a hard question to answer. I am really two artists that I love currently are Miley Cyrus, and there's this man called Steven Sanchez who I love. Just the sound of their
Yeah.
voices is beautiful. And honestly, like Miley Cyrus and like her collabs with other songs are really good. Like like Jolene, and when she sings Plastic Hearts and Heart of Glass, like all of those like older songs that she like revamped. I love them.
She had a ballad in her last solo album
Hmm.
that I really like. I don't know the name because I just randomly come across certain songs that I'm like, oh, this is a good song. She does have a great voice. I love that raspy voice that some women have. What's her name? Scarlett Johansson too has that
Mhm.
deeper raspy.
Adele.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I do like Miley Cyrus. I think she also acted in Black Mirror, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. So
Mhm.
there's I have a sweet spot for Miley Cyrus.
She
Even
is amazing. But also I meant to say, like, if you made me choose an album, Adele's 21 or 25 because they're both amazing. I
Mhm.
will scream my heart out to probably every song on both of those albums. But like I said,
Okay, good single.
I am a lover girl. I am a hopeless romantic. So anything that has to do with love is me.
I
For
love
no, I need to knock it off.
I
But
love love ballads, and if it features heartbreak,
hmm
it's yeah, it's good. It's just gonna be my favorite.
that's why. Oh my gosh, Adele is so good. But then Steven Sanchez, I did fall in love with one of his songs, and I can't think of the name of it right now. But it's his like number one single right now. And yeah, it's a beautiful song, and I don't know why. It is just amazing. The album that goes along with the song is pretty good too, but that song is great. But yeah,
Well, Naomi, thank you for joining me in this podcast. It was a great conversation, and I'm sure I'll see you again. Take care.
yeah. See ya.